Listen, I'm still upset that Glenn Close didn't get nominated for Wake Up Dead Man. I don't know what's wrong with you people. You needed to... But listen, I digress. I have to get over it. Sometimes you just have to move on from these things. But frankly, if Amy Madigan can get nominated from Weapons, Glenn Close can get nominated from Wake Up Dead Man. You know what I'm saying? So I thought it would be fun to break down some of the major Oscar categories in specific videos. So this one will focus on the Best Supporting Actress category, one of my favorite categories. I love a supporting actress. You know what I mean? I'm thinking of the great supporting actresses like Shelley Winters or Diane Wiest or Whoopi Goldberg for Ghost. I mean, there are so many great Best Supporting Actress winners that I go crazy over. So it's going to be fun to do a deep dive into this year's Best Supporting Actress nominees, how I think they got their nominations, and who I think is actually going to take home the prize. So there are two nominees from the same film that I don't think have a chance at winning at all, but I like to see them in this category. It's Inga, Ibsdotter, Lilleaas, hope I'm saying that correctly, and Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value. Listen, I love when a film produces multiple acting nominees. It doesn't happen all that often, and this year it's happened in multiple categories, which is pretty exciting. You know, in years past, you've had multiple nominees from films like The Godfather or All About Eve or Everything Everywhere All at Once, you know, but it doesn't happen all that often. And so, but a lot of times when it does happen, it usually means someone from that film is going to win. In this case, I don't think that's going to happen. Now listen, would I be mad at Elle Fanning winning an Academy Award? No, I've been a stan of the Fanning family. I've been fanning over the Fannings for years. Dakota should have been nominated for I Am Sam. I'm just saying that right now. And Elle Fanning's fantastic, and she's gorgeous. And they're both kind of weird too, which I low-key love. So I wouldn't be mad at Elle winning. I wouldn't be mad at either of them winning, but they're not going to win. They're just not gonna win. How they got here, I mean, Sentimental Value's journey to Oscar nominations this year is actually really interesting because it started off as sort of a very quiet foreign film. Of course, you know, it had a lot of buzz around it because of the different festivals and whatnot, but it did not do well at all in terms of like at the Actors Awards. I mean, it was completely shut out at the Actors Awards, which is a huge indicator that the buzz for a film is not doing so well. And then the Oscars came out and was just like, you know what, we're going to correct what the Actors Award didn't do. And boy, did they ever. I mean, I was very surprised. I wasn't as surprised at Inga's nomination. That one was sort of, you know, that was out there. She was probably the most talked about in a lot of categories. But Elle's nomination was a bit of a surprise and a real indicator that the Academy had a lot of love for Sentimental Value. Maybe they had a lot of sentimental value over sentimental value. Sorry, I don't have children. I'm not a dad. I don't know why I do these dad jokes. So seeing Elle Fanning's nomination that day was kind of great. But it really is, for me, a race. It's kind of a race between the top two, these two nominees, but I kind of see it as a three-person race because I think that the top two nominees might actually cancel each other out. Those nominees, of course, are Wunmi Mosaku for Sinners, Amy Madigan for Weapons, and Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another. Now, Teyana is fresh off her win at the Golden Globes, so the buzz is with Teyana right now, for sure. And Wunmi wasn't even nominated at the Golden Globes, which pissed me off to no end. But all of them have picked up Actor Award nominations, and Amy Madigan has won so many awards for this. And Wunmi's been on a lot of lists in terms of Critics Awards, so I kind of see this as a three-person race. Now, the case for Teyana is this, that she is new and fresh and different, even though she's like not new, but she's new in the film circle, you know what I mean? And she's certainly new to this caliber of film. And she's a fresh voice, and she's different, and she's high fashion, and she's interesting, and she's a multi-hyphenate. And so there's a lot of reasons to show her a lot of love because she gets headlines, frankly. But does that warrant an Academy Award? I don't know. Out of everyone in the film, I loved Teyana in this film. I loved Teyana in One Battle After Another. I kind of felt like Jason Fenty was better. And I feel like Jason Fenty may have hurt herself by campaigning in the Best Actress category. I don't know whose decision that was, but I kind of had a feeling that Chase would have done much better in the Supporting Actress category, even though I do think Chase's role, there's a case to be made that it is a lead performance because the entire film is about her and Teyana. So, like, I don't know. I'm kind of all the performances in One Battle After Another, Chase is the one that really has my heart. Although Sean Penn's performance and Benicio del Toro's performances were incredible, like so good. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully on board with the Teyana Taylor Oscar win moment. That doesn't mean I'm on board with Amy Madigan winning either, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But I want to get to Wunmi Mosaku first. So Wunmi Mosaku, I think, actually has the best chance of winning because a lot of the conversation is around Teyana and Amy Madigan right now. It just is. And they are the top two sort of people being buzzed for this Oscar win because of who they are, but also the level of performance they gave. In Amy's case, it was just a standout wackadoodle performance that nobody saw coming from someone like Amy Madigan. And in Teyana's case, she's just this new, fresh cinematic voice that is just different and also like completely herself, and just gave a performance that was unexpected, but also really refreshing. And so with the buzz being about the two of them, I kind of see a lane for Wunmi to sneak in there and take this. And frankly, I'm okay with that because she is my pick for who I want to win. To me, if you can say, I've seen in the comments and I've seen people talk about Sinners and the complicated, I mean, both Sinners and One Battle After Another, I didn't realize were as polarizing in the comments as some people. I mean, they're just critically praised and I love both of them. So I didn't think they were controversial picks for fantastic films. They are fantastic films. I'm sorry if you don't think so, but they are, objectively they are. And they, so for in those films, in Sinners, Wunmi gives a performance that is both balanced, but also the driver of the story. I mean, if you look at basically every character in the film, everything kind of does revolve around Wunmi's actions. From the beginning of the film with her basically being a rock for Michael B. Jordan's character, to her being the character, spoiler alert, to figure out what the hell's going on with the craziness that's happening around everybody, to her character figuring out what needs to be done. And she's the driver of the action. She's the driver of, and she's also the rock of a lot of, even though a lot of what's happening is batshit crazy, she's the one that just sort of makes sense of everything. And to have a character and an actor do that and make it believable, I actually think warrants a Best Supporting Actress win. So even if you didn't like Sinners, you have to agree that Wunmi's performance is perhaps, I mean, I'm going to say the most grounded out of every performance in the film. And also has nothing, it should not warrant someone winning an Academy Award, but she's pregnant and she's gorgeous and she's a new talent and she's so talented that it would be so great to see her stand on stage with an Academy Award in her hand. I mean, I just want to see that. I just think that's a great image. That does not mean she should win for that reason, but I just love to see that. But let's talk a lot about Amy Madigan, because there's a lot to say about Amy Madigan. Her performance in Weapons was a standout, obviously, and it was different, and no one saw it coming. Like I said, it was just completely out of the box, wackadoodle crazy. And Amy Madigan is a veteran journeyman actor. She is someone who just has she was previously nominated in the 80s, like a long time ago. And she's just over the years put in performances that have been really stellar and great, but also not always massive, not always big. She's done small, she's done big, she's done all of the things. She's part of a Hollywood power couple with Ed Harris. Power couple. I don't think they necessarily call themselves a power couple, but they're Hollywood icons. So that in and of themselves make them powerful. And she's just a staple in Hollywood circles as just a very respected actor. So for her to do a performance like this was out of the blue, and for her to get an Oscar nomination for a performance like this was out of the blue. Now, I want to compare her nomination to a historical precedent that bodes well for her winning. Not that I want her to win, but it bodes well for her winning. And that person is Ruth Gordon's performance in Rosemary's Baby. She won the Academy Award for Rosemary's Baby, but it was not her first Oscar nomination. You see, before she ever really was a well-known actor of screen, she was a writer. She wrote plays, she wrote film scripts. In fact, her first 3 Oscar nominations weren't for acting at all. They were for writing Best Original Screenplay for films like A Double Life, Adam's Rib, and Pat and Mike. Yes, we have Ruth Gordon to thank for some of those classic, amazing Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy films. She had such a varied career, both on stage and in film, and that in her later years in life led to her being a very well-respected figure in creative circles, both on Broadway and in film, which was when she was able to then pivot into doing more acting work and received 2 Oscar nominations for her work. The first in 1965 for Best Supporting Actress for Inside Daisy Clover, and then eventually her Oscar win for Rosemary's Baby. Now, Rosemary's Baby is not your typical Oscar film, just like Weapons is not your typical Oscar film. And just like now, films that are sort of horror films were not big Academy Award nominator getters, if you will. I mean, before Rosemary's Baby, you had Psycho that picked up a few nominations but didn't win. You had Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, didn't win, but it picked up an acting nomination, I believe just acting. And there were a handful of other films that you could categorize as horror, but nothing like Rosemary's Baby. And so Rosemary's Baby picked up 2 Oscar nominations. It picked up for Best Supporting Actress and Best Adapted Screenplay, which Roman Polanski was nominated for. And even since then, horror films do not do well at the Academy Awards. Of course, The Exorcist picked up a number of nominations, but it didn't win any of the major awards. Cut 2 years later, you have Silence of the Lambs, which you could probably categorize as a horror film, but to me it's more of a thriller. But it did win Best Picture. But since then, you know, films don't, if it does get an Oscar, it's usually in the screenplay category. Acting performances rarely are nominated in the acting categories. You could also argue that Kathy Bates, that was a horror film, which it kind of is. It is a horror film, but again, it's just different, and they're rare. They're very, very, very rare. And so Amy Madigan's case for winning is very similar to Ruth Gordon in that she has a long Hollywood history. Everybody knows her. More importantly, everyone who's voting knows her name, and they know who she's married to, and they know her resume. And those are 3 really big reasons why someone like Amy Madigan probably might win the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. And maybe it'll break the curse of horror films getting nominated. I don't think so. I don't think the Academy will ever take horror seriously in the way that I want them to take horror films seriously. I mean, I'm still out here very angry that Toni Collette did not get nominated for Hereditary, or that Lupita Nyong'o did not get nominated for Us. I mean, these are performances that are just beyond difficult, beyond mesmerizing to watch, and they often just get overlooked. And so if her winning means that more horror films will get nominated in the acting categories, listen, I'm game for that. Because if that means I want Toni Collette to immediately do a horror film and win an Oscar for it, I'm begging for that to happen. And, you know, you could make an argument too that Wunmi winning would be also for a horror film, because Sinners is a horror film, although it's not a horror film in the same way that Weapons is. I don't know, there's something different about Sinners that makes it more than just a horror film. You know what I mean? It's a thriller, it's a drama, there's so much to it that makes it so big, but it is also a horror film. But Wunmi's performance isn't necessarily horror. Do you know what I mean? Like Amy Madigan, she was a horror character. She's on the level of like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, or like Kathy Bates in Misery, like, or even Ruth Gordon in Rosemary's Baby. Like, she's the catalyst of the horror. Whereas Wunmi is, you know, fighting the horror. Who do you think is going to win the Best Supporting Actress Oscar? Let me know in the comments. And of course, I'll be doing this for all the major categories, so more to come on that front. And you can follow me at @HAllenScott on everything. You can like and subscribe. You know how to use the internet. And I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, watch something fun today. Go watch Rosemary's Baby if you've never seen it. My God, it's such a good movie. And then go watch some of Ruth Gordon's past work. I mean, God, I love Ruth Gordon. Have a good one.